So welcome everybody. So glad to have you here. I am so excited for today's broadcast, today's video that we are recording. I've got some of my sisters here with me and I'm meeting a new one. I'm just really excited. I've been wanting to touch on this topic for quite a while now, and the timing just wasn't right. We know that timing is everything, and I just didn't have the people, but now I do. And so today, as you'll notice, my partner Thurston is not here with us today. So when you think about him, he's actually getting some surgery done on his one eye. So, just send him some prayers and some good thoughts, please. I know that he would have loved to be here, but he just had the surgery done today. So anyway, I want to get this housekeeping stuff done out of the way so that we can get moving on learning some information on foraging. And it's just going to be so much information. It's going to be so good for us. So please, we need you to like, subscribe, and share, comment. The way that YouTube has their algorithms set up, unless you all do that and help us, we're really not getting this information out to too many people. And we are in a time right now, people need to know this information. I feel real urgency in my spirit to get this information out to as many people as we possibly can. And you might not think that you need it right now. Maybe you don't, but maybe you could file this information away. Or have it downloaded, whatever. Take notes. I have as usual, I have my notepad here and I'm going to take a ton of notes. So please help us to do that. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up and like, subscribe, share, comment. All right, so and you're going to find, by the way, you will find information. I'm going to link all the links below, Zephy's homestead and Faye's information, anything that they want to link below. You'll find that all linked below, where you can also get some more information. So anyway, welcome ladies. So excited again. I'm going to start with Zephy's homestead. So with Adriana. Say hi, Adriana. Adriana and
hi.
They are in. Can I give your location? Is that okay? I mean, I don't know if you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
They're in North Idaho. So we are going to be talking about things that are, well, kind of general, but also specific to that area. But we also have Fayvah with us, who is in the northeast of our country. More in my area. So this is so that we can kind of, we have a couple of different viewpoints or different parts of the country that we're going to look at. So I want to start, first of all, for somebody who doesn't know what foraging is. Can you all, I guess looks like Riley's going to tell us what is foraging.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, I'll do my best.
Foraging. Give us a definition or whatever your explanation.
I kind of think of it as like plant hunting. Like, honestly, you go out your door and you're not always going to find maybe the specific thing you have in mind, but you'll always find something. And whether that's like finding a leaf where you're like, I wonder what this is. Maybe I'll bring it back home and see if there's something that you can like identify, whether it's through like a local foraging book you have or online, something that just like would help point you to what that actually is. And then just taking it like one step at a time, not like pressuring yourself too, because there's so much to be foraged and it's like kind of overwhelming. I think the school I went to recently, I thought it would give me more answers, but then at the same time, it made me like just have so many more questions because there's a lot to learn. And you also want to make sure you're like finding the right plants and not like giving yourself that's something that's going to harm you instead of help you.
That's my, I'm sorry. That's my fear. I started to study this about 3 years ago. I bought a couple books and I'm still like, I'm out there looking at things and going, I don't know. I really don't know. And I am so afraid that I'm going to eat something because I watched the movie, and one of my favorite movies ever, Into the Wilderness. No, what was it called? Into the Wild. Did you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a true story. And I won't tell
Yes.
you the ending, but oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't want to end up like that. But anyway.
Right.
So
Well, there's a
plant
beauty there's a beauty of being able to adapt to your land and being able to find things that are within the community where you live or wherever your hub is, whether you're off grid, on grid, a cabin, or even in an apartment somewhere in town. And since coming to North Idaho 5 years ago, there's been a vast amount of wild foraging things that you could pretty much, for the most part, I think, live off the land here. And with the seasons that we have and changes, there's so many opportunities to get things, whether you use them medicinally wise to make tinctures or teas, or whether you're collecting berries to put in your freezer for the next, couple of months down the road. There's such a vast amount. And for me, outside of studying maybe in books or in learning, I honestly, the father has just downloaded ways of going out and going, wow, this is really something that we're supposed to have. And it's almost like he has given me almost like his own reference encyclopedia, so to speak, to be able to go, oh, wow, that's mullein, or wow, that's rose hips, or wow, that is like, red clover. And then from that point on, studying it and finding out, is this good to have? Is it poison? Is it something that you should or should not take in to eat, or however you choose to make it be for your benefit? But I mean, I can just walk out step down my step, and there's 3 of the plants that Riley went this morning to go pick that are so like important. And then you start getting into technical ways of learning, wow, that plant is not just good for lung health, that plant's good for respiratory and then your heart, and so many ways that you can take just the simplicity of how it was created in the ground, on a bush, on a tree, and then turn it into something that you could actually take. During Sukkot this year, we were up in Priest River, right? Priest River?
Yeah.
Priest River area. Green Bay. It's called Green Bay up in Priest River in North Idaho. And her and I have connected so well. She's like 30 years younger than I am. And we've just like ebb and flowed together when it comes to doing this type of herby gardening and foraging. It's very exciting. And we could spend days just hanging out together. The distance is a factor. But for that being said, at Sukkot, we found a tree that had sap on it. Her and I just went like 2 kids in a candy store, like, oh my goodness, we're going to get the sap. What do we do with the sap? How do we tincture the sap? And so her and I are like taking a little knife that I had in my back pocket or in my purse, and we're scraping it off the tree. And I gave it all to her, and she's going to somehow tincture it or make
like a little pain stop,
something out of it. And we just got creative. We just went out, saw something, and thought, wow, this is something that is beneficial for us to have in the days to come, whether you choose to eat it, which I don't think we eat the sap, so to speak, but maybe, I don't know. But to be able to do that and go, wow, you could really somewhat survive off the land if there was ever a time that you needed to be. And, like Donna said, we're coming into a time, into a season that there is almost like an urgency to really learn where you live. And you can garden, you can forage, even in the middle of the city. There's ways of making it happen. It just takes a little bit more creativity and a little bit more just effort possibly than just plopping things into the ground when you live like on acres in North Idaho. But you can do it. So there's really no excuse to learn this type of lifestyle and adapt it to where you're living at currently.
Wow. So yeah, and I as you're talking and you're saying, you can go out and kind of like you're being led to pick certain things. It's like I feel like you have this gift or something, and I feel like you said, I'm overwhelmed by it. Like there's so much, and we're so used to just going to the store and getting what we need. We're so busy, and that's, I mean, that's one of the things, and we talk about this a lot in a lot of our videos, is just making the time to actually learn about these things that we're going to need before, or we may need before they're upon us. But before we get to Faye, because I want to ask you to give just a little bit of your background. So Zeffie's homestead, do you want to tell us just a little bit about your home? Because
sure.
Yeah.
So Zeffie's homestead started about 5 years ago. We used to have a website called Healing Throughout. And during that season, we had a child, and about an hour after I delivered him full term, he had passed away. And so I dedicated this website to his life in a way that opened up a whole new way of living when it came to gardening and homesteading off grid, learning how to live off the land. And so I've allowed his memory to be very much alive in this site as I do life here in North Idaho. And so the site is about off-grid living. It's about homesteading. It's about health and wellness. It's a format that has everything. We have a cooperative called New Beginnings. That's part of Zeffie's Homestead. So it's got many tentacles, but the main drive is really honoring his life that was very short-lived for about an hour after his death. And I learned how to garden, Donna. I mean, before I had him, my one daughter, we had 6 total. My one daughter was like, Mom, you've got to garden. You've got to put seed in the ground, get your feet out in the dirt. And I'm like, that's all for old people. I ain't going to go garden. What's grounding? And I was doing organic and living that lifestyle, but I didn't really clue into it. And I didn't have time. I didn't want to make the time. And then after his death, and during that moment of grieving, I learned how to put seed in the ground, and I saw life come up from the bottom up. And I thought, oh my goodness, I was addicted. And seeing that life sprout and seeing the land get green, and we were living in the high desert of Southern California at the time, which is very hot, and there's really no seasons except for cold and hot. Coming here has been a whole different game changer because we have the 4 seasons up here in North Idaho. So I'm learning how to ebb and flow with how the seasons work with basic even gardening and living off grid. So Zeffie's Homestead has sparked a life in me during that time and continues to do forth as I have this really, I love gardening. I love working in the land, getting out and grounding my feet, and now foraging with Riley and doing some of the things that she's addicted to or has a passion about has been another step up in how I've chose to live and honor him.
Yeah, well, that is such a beautiful way, to honor and to bring life and such, wow, how much from that seed, right? That's beautiful. And we do have to do some more talking and recording later. I've been wanting to get you on, Adriana, for a while, of all the different aspects of homesteading, and because I know there are more people that are definitely interested in that. And so Riley, how did you get started again? Or did you give us
Yeah, totally. So I am just a brief background is I'm one of 8. I have lots of younger siblings, and right, and we've gotten into organic eating, and my family has owned an organic produce business in the past, and then now an organic eatery here in Sandpoint. And yeah, it's just been like a journey of wanting to eat healthier and feed my body good things, and that's kind of like helped produce a plant passion, I guess you could say. And yeah, just learning more about the plants as I have time, and really just wanting to share that with the world as much as possible, because it's really exciting and it can feel really overwhelming too. So
it's so nice to see a young person, though, at the younger generation, learning these things, and then actually implementing the way, implementing these things, and it's exciting. Good. Well, I'm going to bring Faye in here. Faye, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and how you have, what you're doing?
Sure. Well, I basically, I think I knew about some of this stuff practically all my life, but I didn't really put it into practice until I was in my late 20s. Of course, it was a health thing that happened to me. And then probably in my late 20s was when I started doing the feasts and learning about them. And during that time, somebody told me about the Maker's Diet. So I changed my diet all the way around, even though I was eating some healthy things and marrying into a family where they canned all their own food. My husband's mother taught me how to do that. And also my grandmother from little on up she made thieves oil, and she told us my grandfather during the Spanish Black Flu, I think it was called. That was way back in, I don't know what year that would have been. But anyways, he lived through that, and he was the ambulance driver. And she said it was because of the thieves oil she made.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all this stuff in my head, but during the time of me doing the Maker's Diet and changing things around and changing to clean eating, the Father put on my heart the one year that I was going to learn how to make oils. And I prayed about it because I didn't know the first thing of how to do it. And then he showed me I was to go to this lady's house, and she actually taught me how to do it. So I guess it's 15 plus years or maybe longer I've been making essential oils. I don't really sell them. I kind of give them out to people for gifts, or if somebody really wants it. I do sell doTERRA oils because I think they're really good, but I make a lot of my own oils. So in the same time that I was doing the Maker's Diet, my husband and I had a huge picnic in our yard, and we used all edible flowers at the picnic. We have edible flowers on everything. So that really started me into looking into my area, what's all edible. And I had a pastor give me this. It's the Pennsylvania Edible Wild Plants Peterson Field Guides. So I really use this thing a lot to look at things and everything. But over the years, I've met so many people that do forage. And I'm like, Donna, I think we need to go into survival mode right now. So foraging is for survival mode. So just I'd say in the last year, I've been looking at some of these things that would really sustain you in Pennsylvania. I also, through learning, I found out that in your own area, them are the things you use to cure things. Like, you know how everybody mostly knows about honey if they have allergies to eat it in their own area? Well, I've been studying that even the edible wild plants should come from your area if you're really trying to go through a health crisis and use from your area. The Abba Father has put things into each and every one of our area to help us. So doing all of that, and then I make kombucha and all them type of things, and I'll put some herbs in with that, or flowers or whatever. I got interested in having a cafe, but I really haven't been given the cafe yet. A little bit, maybe. I have like an Airbnb bed and breakfast, and then I'll give people some things that I'm making to try, and they all like it. So I really am not selling these things yet at this point. It's now that I'm retired, I really want to put my mind in how to I could sell some of these things, because I make a really good essential oil perfume for women, and I really want to get that patent. So different things like that. But that's how I got into it, by getting sick and then learning and getting into the feasts and going into the clean foods, and I've been adding on to all of those things now. And like she had said about adapting through the land that you're in, all of us can adapt. Say we do have to go into the wilderness. So you're going to have to adapt where you're at, and we're going to have to know some of these things. And there's a lot I don't know. I'm always learning too. And I meet people, too, that are learning, and we learn from one another. So it's wonderful to be here, and I thank you. And I can't wait.
Well, it's interesting that, I watch videos and I read, people's stories of how, it just seems like so many of them were so ill, and the doctors just, gave them the bad report. There's nothing else they can do. And they were determined to find a way. And so that's, and I think you know, I'm not making any predictions or anything like that, but in the days to come, you know, we're going to need more of things like this so that, you know, people can survive and be healthy and live, not just survive, but thrive. I mean, that's the thing, you know, we don't want to just survive. We want to thrive and enjoy the time that we have while we're here. So okay, so back to Adriana and Riley. What if so? What the say? You know, I'm brand new at this. What is the first thing that you would have people do? What would you suggest? Go buy a book, get out there and just start picking things, tasting them. What, you know, I've heard just recently. I heard that you're supposed to try, because I've been watching a lot more foraging videos. They're just supposed to try something new, like every week or every month or something. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I've not heard about that one, but that sounds interesting. I think there's so much. I'm just going to backtrack, if I may, on what Faye has said about the times that we're heading in. I know you reiterated on that also too, Donna. And we won't have the means to have things with us. We're going to have to learn how to either apply things from a natural perspective, whether it's laying on of hands, whether it's finding something like pine needles to make pine needle tea, or mullein, which is really good for respiratory and lung health, and being able to learn how to do things from a free perspective. I mean, you could pack some things in your backpack and head for the mountains, so to speak, but I think that there's going to be a really tough season that we're going to have to really learn how to get there. And so for us, we brought a basket in here. Do you want to show them the basket that we have?
Oh, yeah.
We got a few things that we just gathered from just right out my front door. And, you know, people think it's weeds. I thought they were in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, they're weeds all over my land. But now I'm like, wait a minute, they're not just weeds. Some of them are horrible weeds for your garden, but for the most part, some of these in here are just so wonderful. Like we've got plantain.
Little cedar hanging off of it.
Plantain is a beautiful plant that I've used for bites and bee stings. And you put some in your mouth, you use your saliva, and then you stick it on the wound or on the bite. And it's an amazing anti-infection, if you want to call it that.
Yeah,
but
like
it draws the toxins out. You put in your mouth, and you can put on your salad. I mean, this came right from the dirt, so we didn't even wash it. But that's
well, and to expound on that one a bit too.
That's one of the things. Like I have made dandelion tea, and I've had put the leaves in my salad and stuff. And my mother's upstairs, so I have to be. That's the thing. Like, we don't live out in the countryside. She'd be like, what? There's all kinds of stuff out there. You can't eat that stuff. What about the animals that are out there?
I mean, she'd
be like dying right now.
Yeah, we put like, this hasn't been washed. She pulled the root, and you just kind of, when you're desperate and you're living on a survival mode, you don't have time to go to the creek, or they call it here the crick, to go wash your stuff out and sterilize with some antibacterial soap. You got to like take it a little bit, maybe rub it on your t-shirt, stick it in your mouth, and then apply it if needed. So, and we live in the land in a Mitzadim, so to speak, world where nothing is either safe anymore or nothing is unpolluted, whether it's certified organic or not. You're going to get toxins on it. So at this point in the game, you have to trust Yah that what you're putting in your mouth after you prayed about it is going to be clean, and obviously being mindful that it's not going to be poison. But she's even put elderberry. Elderberry, you're not supposed to eat elderberry, but she's had a few. Not raw necessarily. You're not supposed to eat raw elderberry. And she's like, she's eating elderberry. And I'm like, well, she's still here. So
yeah, that's the thing. I think that, and again, I think this is what you were kind of alluding to too, Faye, was like, using the things that are from your land, and that our bodies adjust to these things. But yes, if we do have to be careful, because we don't want to die like that guy and into the wild. But But, and I was just talking to my daughters the other day and I said, you know, this is what I was, you know, I'm doing this video on foraging. And that was what they said to me. My one daughter, she's like, doesn't matter anyway, because you know what they're putting in the air and what's in the ground. And it's like, I know, but at some point, if you're in this situation where it's a dire situation, you know, and again, you know, if you're prepared a little bit with you, and you have your backpack with you and you have some water, you know, you might be able to wash it up. But yeah, so either,
So another one that we
you
picked
know.
out was, another one they picked out that I'll have Riley explain a little bit about.
Mhm.
The mullein. Yeah, so this is like one leaf of the mullein and it's pretty fuzzy. Like it feels almost like lamb's ear. I honestly don't know how you'd tell the difference. You'd want to look in your area, but
Okay.
yeah, this one's really good. Like I've heard one of the best ways to use it is probably in a tea, like to help with fighting cough, and not necessarily even fighting cough, but if you're like struggling with a cough, it just helps like the congestion come out. And also I've heard it's good for your heart. I don't really know like a ton about it, but it grows a lot around here, so I definitely want to like keep using it. And it
Now, do
is
we
like
have-
kind of a jack of all trades too. Like there's a lot of benefits I've heard. I just don't remember all of them.
And we've
Yeah,
actually, a friend of ours that's off grid, that's they know Yahoo also, she's actually used it for toilet paper. And I know it may be
Seems
kind of
like it
weird,
hurt.
but it's actually
You
really
never
soft.
know.
So if you're like
Yeah.
toilet paper shortage and you need to wipe yourself and you have like a compost toilet, like many of the people up here in North Idaho have, and I'm hoping to one day build one on our property, you know, mullein is probably the safest thing to
yeah, and that other soft toilet paper is pretty expensive. So
yeah.
Yeah.
now, Faye, do we have that in our area? Because I have been reading about that. I've been seeing it pop up.
do.
So we do have that.
Oh, cool.
Yay.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
it's good.
good.
And so another one that we have in North Idaho is red clover. This is something I just recently learned from another woman up here. She's in her late 70s, a sister in Yahuwah. And this is really good for blood. It's a blood
Like a
purifier,
blood cleanser.
a blood
yeah.
cleanser, really good for even hormonal health. And I actually didn't harvest the whole thing when I dried it. I just used the flowers. So I nipped off the flowers and I just dried them on a sheet outside when it was warm and the sun was shining. And then I didn't dry the leaves. I'm not too sure. I guess you could use the leaves,
I
right?
bet. Yeah. I mean, you can even eat them in salads, I've heard. You know, we're getting to the end of the season. They're a little like, you know,
Wilty.
they're composting.
Yeah, they're
getting a little
composting.
mildew on them.
So how do you? So how then do you use the flower part of it? Is that
So the flower part, you would just cut off the end, you know, and normally they have like a pink purpley hue to them. So if you can see in the camera, they're kind of like purpley. They're really pretty flower.
Oh yeah.
And so what I've done is I just nipped off the ends of the flowers and I just lay them on a cotton sheet on top of my kitchen table, and the sun comes in and dries them up. And then once they're dry, because when you dry herbs, you have to make sure that it's really dry before you jar them, because then they can mold on you. Then I actually put them inside my mason jar in my counter, and then I'll use them as needed. And then I have them in my jar for about 6 months. You could help probably hold it about 6 months, probably to a year.
Yeah.
Keep them stored in your mason jar.
Really?
Flask.
So what do you put? So what do you use them for? Like, what do you?
So I'm learning about this one. This one I've been told is really good for blood purification. There's probably more things that you hope you can learn about red clover, hormonal health.
You just eat them, or you put them in?
I'd probably make it to a tea, or I know there's things like Riley has made. So Riley has made tinctures. She's done a lot of tincturing
yeah, just through my school I was learning about it. So it's new to me. But.
It's new to So she tinctures some stuff. You can put them in tea. There's probably even salves you can make with some of these things if you choose to do more of a salve to apply locally on an area. And I would probably think you probably could be edible too. Like put that in your salad.
I bet.
So Faye, do we have those around here? Because that kind of looked familiar to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
Okay.
Nice.
That's like what the rabbits are always trying to eat.
Clover,
Yeah, right?
That's what they say they'll eat.
Red clover. Yeah.
Instead of your garden, you should have clover around, right?
Yeah.
They eat that. See, I am learning some things.
Do you guys
Okay.
have some of the plantain at your place too, or like around you?
Yeah, we have plantain too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
think
Yeah,
so.
because this one is like the narrow leaf. And I was just learning, if you guys are familiar with it, that the psyllium seed grows off of plantain, which is so intriguing to me. So like these little husks you can like get the seed off of, and that's, yeah, people like
Oh,
buy
yeah.
that as health
I've seen
supplement.
those. Yeah, I've seen those.
And I use it in baking all the time. So I'm like, hey, we could start to grow our own.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
also just a really cool testimony on this one really quick. I was hearing that someone was having like a crazy reaction to a bee sting and she didn't have her medicine with her, like her what she always had. She's like super allergic, and so like the lady that was at the park was like, here, just chew up and like eat some of this plantain and like bite it and just, you know, slap some on the wound and or on the sting, and it like totally, she didn't have any reaction. It was like better than her taking her medicine, you know, no side effects. And
Yeah.
so it totally works. Like herbs work.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
sometimes it is just finding what herbs work for your specific body and maybe what's, yeah, native to you. But there's so much that you can benefit from, just like
Yeah.
mineral rich. This tasted like salty eating
Yeah,
it.
it actually was
Like
pleasant.
you just taste the minerals in there and it's incredible. Yeah, like
Maybe better than
and
chips.
fresher than that.
Well,
Yeah. I know, I was, yeah. It's,
I gave up
can eat
chips
so
a
good
couple
for you.
months ago.
some sea salt on top.
I had to get,
Yeah.
no, I won't even confess. I was,
Psyllium can help incontinence too.
what was that?
Is what?
The psyllium from the plantain can help incontinence.
Oh.
Yes.
cool.
Yeah. Nice. And this actually is a different, so there are two different kinds of plantain that Riley actually lured me on to yesterday when she was at my last week on my property. The kind that I used that when I had the bite on my foot, because my foot just swelled like two sizes. It's more the broader, larger leaf.
Yeah.
It's not the thin
Small
one.
broadleaf. Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's a difference medicinally wise in the broader leaf or in the thin, narrow one from a medicinal purpose. But that was the one that I was driven to put on my foot. But this one grows also on my property, and so does the broad.
Okay. Wow. This is
And
amazing.
then if we can show you one more thing real quick, because this one is super exciting. I'm gonna have Riley. I'm just gonna.
Oh, the root.
Yeah, I wanted to share this because she came to my house last week, and her and I sat for about an hour, and it was so pleasant just to sit there and like take this massive root that she's going to show you in a second, and we were just like chopping it up and just talking, and it was almost like this little community of like these women getting together, you know, knitting a blanket for their little grandson, like 5 women, but we all sat around and just like took our shears and our knives and started chopping up little pieces of this herb. And I thought, wow, what a generation that's been lost that I'm learning at 50. She's 20. And to have her get so excited about doing this excited me, made me feel younger, and being able to pass that on in a way where it's a pastime, but it's also beneficial, because anything that we do that we've talked about here, Faye has, myself and Donna, this is disciplined time. This is not being on a computer typing, working on your business, getting on your cell phone, you know, being under Wi-Fi or EMF. This is getting outside, walking the land, grabbing what you need, finding what's part of your native area, and then sitting down and having to cultivate it, dry it. I mean, it's a process. So these tinctures that they sell in the store, if you find the people that are like upright and honest, like Faye with her oils, there's a price tag on it because it takes time. And we talked about that as we're shaving off this bark that she'll show you. And I'm like, well, no wonder it's $100 for an oil, because it takes time to do that. So I'm going to have to talk about this, if you don't mind, Donna, because it's just quite fascinating what and please tell the story about how you pulled that out of the ground. Crazy.
Well, for one, I like to tell people, like, if you only learn one thing about herbs, it's probably that you'll learn patience, or at least need to, because it does take that a little bit, as far as like, you're not going to get immediate results. And maybe even if you have never tried the medicine of something, and then you're like still taking the time to dig it up, make the medicine, like you're just anticipating it's going to work, right? So For this one, this is just like a third of the root that's left, and you can see how big. This is the top of the arrowleaf balsam root plant that I dug up. It's kind of like our native local sunflower to the area. And it stretched on.
It was long.
Was it 4 to 5 feet?
It was about
probably?
5 feet long.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so digging this guy up, it took 3 hours because they dig between rocks and like big rocks and boulders because they like the drainage and going in between, you know. So I kind of got myself into something big, and it's ropey too, so like you can't just cut it necessarily easily at any certain point, so you just got to keep going. And but with this guy, you were chopping it up, you break off like the resinous kind of bark. I wonder if I have, oh yeah, here's like the barky pieces that are yeah, like really resinous at this time of year. Feels like pitch or some kind of sap. But yeah, and then it's just like a rope cutting this up. But for the best medicine, like we wanted to chop it really fine. Yeah, so we were like taking scissors to chunks like this and making them really minced and small. And
It almost smells like, it has like a,
yeah,
to me, it has like a frankincense myrrh smell. That's what
It
kind of,
does.
yeah, like a frankincense myrrh, and it's
it
really
smells amazing.
tacky, but it smells, it's really a nice, pleasant scent.
Yeah.
Really
Wow.
nice.
Wow.
Nutty
You know,
and-
I'm thinking as you're you know, as you were talking about how the effort that it takes, you know, to do all this and the time, and you know, because I'm just thinking about, you know, the way those who cannot be doing these things, those who just don't have the time, they have to work, they're raising, I mean, I know you're raising a family as well, but you've chosen certain, you know, we've all chosen our life at this point, lifestyles, and that it would really be maybe, you know, for those of you who do, you know, like Riley, you're so young, this could be something that you could do to raise income, and you know, people would be willing to pay for it. Like, I know I'd be like, send me some of that
Yeah.
oil. I don't have time to sit there and do all that.
For
you
sure.
know?
Well, I think that's the
Yeah.
process of how this works. And Faye could probably understand that too, making her oils, is that since she's doing it all on her own, it takes time. But I think there's a beauty of people who work full time that can't do that, but people like Riley or myself or Faye that can. And then we can offer that to the community, even though they can't go out there and say forage on their own. And so they can either stock up on stuff, because to put something like this small in your backpack or an essential oil bottle,
Oh, yeah.
it's quite easy, so to speak.
Mm.
So I think there's a way of extending out the foraging aspect from getting it from the land, taking 3 hours to dig out a root, sitting there making little pieces like this, and then going to a tincture,
hours to
right,
tincture it, yeah.
right, and all that processing to go, hey, you know what? I have something now that's going to benefit you, that I took the time, because I had it, to do that. There's no judgment there. And now you can benefit with being able to use it medicinally for yourself. So
Yeah.
we took this beast, if I could call him that. He was just this wild, wonky thing.
This
And
is just the top.
It's just the
left
top
afro
part, just
going
the
on.
afro going on. And then she took it and she turned it into a tincture. Well, not tincture yet, but you want to explain this process to
Yeah,
the
this is one of the 4 jars that we've had so
4
far.
jars.
But this we used a high proof alcohol because it's super resinous. So we did like a 151 proof. I use like an organic cane sugar sourced alcohol. And so we just like basically steep it in there for, I think, 2 to 6 weeks is probably what I'll do, and then strain it out. And it's really a good like immune stimulant, and also I think, I'm trying to remember, there's a lot of benefits of this one, but it's like in different seasons it has different benefits, which is pretty neat, but I'm getting it mixed up at the moment. It's really good for like coughs though, and like really just like helping you clear your lungs out, which is something a lot of us you know, struggle with from time to time with things going around. So
Yeah, see, I get so excited about things like this. Like since I was young, my father, I think he gave me the gift of you you know, becoming a business, because my dad he was a blue collar worker, but then he then owned several of his own businesses. He encouraged me to get started, and I get so excited because I think, like, if people could just use their creativity, use the gifts that they're getting, use their knowledge. There are all kinds of ways to, you know, bring in money these days, or to, you know, to start a business, to do something that you are supposed to do in this earth. I just so believe of course, the highest purpose is to worship our Creator, but how do we do that? He's given us things that we can do. And so when I hear you talking about, like, you have that little bottle, that little tincture, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, can we put this on our website? You can raise money this way. You can, and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
not that I'm not like,
For sure. For sure.
yeah, I mean,
And I think, and you know, and I think too that, like, she has a love, you know, Faye has a love, I have a love for it, and we've all been through different seasons, whether it's health or a death of a child. You know, we all have our story. So there's a fly that wants to, like, go right on that camera. He already blocked it off one time.
I don't see it.
He's trying to block the camera. But we have this, and I don't know, maybe it takes an incident in your life to really kind of wake up, or maybe just learning about the Father's ways. I think many of us have come into the ways of the Father in honoring his Shabbats and his feast days. And then you start to garden, and you start learning about the moon, you start learning about the sun, you start learning about all these things grounding, because they all fall in line with Yahuwah. They're not like pagan things that have been developed by the Gentiles, so to speak. They really come from, I believe, the heart of Yahuwah, the Father, and how he designed us to really live life. And that doesn't mean everybody has to be a farmer or a gardener or be off grid or be a homesteader or make oils or go dig out 3 hours of a birch, you know, this plant or this herb. But when you have that drive to really want to be part of the land, I think you automatically get that from Yah, to get excited about it. And it's not a blue collar worker where you clock in the morning, you clock out at night, and you get your paycheck every week. This takes time that could be, you know, 6 weeks of stewing in her house in a dark room before the tincture is made for her to even consider selling if she chooses to. So that's a long process. And I think from a mental perspective, that society is pulled away from going back to the land, the way it was created for us to really live, because we come from the dirt, we come from the soil. We're meant to be born from the soil, and then we're going to die back into the soil. So how can you not, once you get a taste that he is good, to not get a bite or a desire or a wanting to be out? Because I get frustrated with people. I'm like, put your feet in the dirt. Go get your nails dirty. Go get a pot and put some seeds in. And if you live in Southern California or in Florida, put it in your house, put it outside, and you might get something to grow. Well, I don't have time. I can go to the store. I'm like, oh, but don't you understand? It just doesn't come that way. I get frustrated, but then again, I got to get people like Grace, and I got to step back and go, you know what? They're just not there, and that's okay. If I can be there and can offer the food, or she can offer the stuff, then maybe that's what our community needs. But it's a joy, and it doesn't make a paycheck as quick, but it just takes networking and time, and like with Faye with her oils, wanting to one day try to find a market to sell her stuff. And I would support her totally, and I'll put her on my website in a heartbeat.
You know, and we do have a lot of people that you know, that are part of our group and our emergency preparedness group, that, you know, they're not maybe they're not as spiritual, or, you know, but I mean, this is for I think people, how could you not know what's going on right now? Like, if you're just going to the grocery store and seeing the prices, and then, you know, seeing all this, the illnesses and the sickness and things like that. So even just getting the awareness out to people that there is another way. Like, I'm gonna use my mom's generation. Okay, again, my mom, her immediate family, like her uncle, I know, was a farmer, you know. So, but her immediate family, my grandfather was a truck driver, you know, and they didn't live that way. They didn't farm. They didn't have they might have had a garden. I don't know. But she's more like, oh, I don't want to it's dirty outside. I don't want to, more being in the city kind of atmosphere and stuff like that. And so, but more people their eyes are being opened more and more just by what's happening. So, and I think that again, these are going to be opportunities for people to know that there's another way, there is another answer, there is a hope, there is hope. And so, and even if, like you say, you put one of those little bottles of tincture in your bug out bag or whatever, that's the whole point, to get this information out. So, okay, so are you done with your basket? Do you have any more?
There's always more.
There's always, she's got two
We
more
were
here.
hoping to take you guys outside today,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
with the logistics, it didn't work out.
Yeah. The technology didn't work out.
Yeah. Did we bring anything else? I think there was
there one more in there?
some of trees. I brought some cedar. That's really
Okay.
beautiful. Grows around here.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, this guy. See, I don't like that guy.
The tansy.
I don't like.
The
Okay, so
tansy.
Tansy and I have a war between each other. I know there's a purpose for it because you can grow tansy, and I got seeds donated to our homestead for our cooperative, and they gave me like tansy, and I'm like, no, we have tansy. We don't want to grow more tansy because it's a booger. It sucks a lot of the nutrients and the water, and it grows wild up here. But
It does.
yeah, you can talk about tansy.
Well, I do know a little bit that it's supposed to benefit in like repelling bugs. So if you're outside, you can just kind of like rub the leaves and flowers and kind of rub it on yourself. It seems to help. I
Can
think
you,
that's all.
Riley, can you hold it up a little closer to the,
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's the tansy right there.
and just see if we have that. Do we have that?
You can't really miss it. Yeah, I don't think you can really miss it.
I see a lot. I see yellow flowers like that in the
Sure.
trail.
Let me look in my book because I haven't harvested that.
Look at the camera like this.
Oh yeah. There you go.
Mm-hmm. I see it. Yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
kinda- the little guys on foot.
Common tansy.
Okay. So I
Nice.
thought so. I thought I saw it on the trail. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just don't like tansy. He's my friend.
It does grow more of like
Yeah,
a
it's a little bit of a destructive weed.
yeah.
And then she's got a couple of other things here too.
Oh, we did bring dandelion
Dandelion.
leaf in. That's always a good one.
Yeah.
This was
Mhm.
under your deck, so it's nice and big.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like dandelion leaf for in salads. It is kind of bitter, depending on the time of year and how young the leaves are. But if you get the younger leaves, like it's not gonna be too bitter. One of my favorite ways to use it is like in a basil pesto with just very supplemental amount of dandelion leaf.
Okay.
Maybe some plantain I throw in there. I just call it like a forager's pesto, whatever little things. And one of my other favorites around here, do you guys have sorrel by chance? That one's
Yes.
like a
Sorrel.
kind of,
Yes.
yeah. There's a couple different kinds of sorrel I've heard, but that's one of my favorites up here too. Like the really sour greens complements the bitter a little more. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's so much up here. I feel like if it were maybe spring or another time of year too, there'd be more to share.
Yeah, right now things are winding down because we're heading into winter, and things are changing. And we just recently picked huckleberries and elderberries and blueberries. We got wild raspberries. We got so many berries up here between the bears and humans. I think we're pretty good. But it's starting to wind down. So we will go into the dormant season, and then come spring, things just start to just pop up. And that's where many of us get busy. So right now we're prepping so much for winter, and getting our land settled in, cozy and nice and warm, and then getting wood or whatever.
Right.
But then once spring kicks up and the snow melts and the runs are being done with the water, then we're just out there just going haywire, foraging or grabbing things because you store. It's almost like the seasons in North Idaho are so different for me because I'm not used to that coming from Southern California. Southern California, they were hot or it was cold. It wasn't in between. So here it's been a little bit of a rough curve road for me to really adjust to, especially coming into winter. I haven't really hand in glove that relationship well in that part of the season, because I want to stay busy and to just kind of settle down, as many of the folks up here have shared, that time after you've farmed or you've homestead or you forage or you're an herbalist, it's a time just to settle and quiet yourself down and kind of like replenish and restore, kind of like the bears in the cave. They get all nice and, they're sleeping. And then when they get out, the hibernation, right?
Mhm.
And then they get out and they get busy eating, and we're getting busy planning. But I've noticed in North Idaho that you've always got to be one step above the ante, so to speak, to prepare. So come December, I'm already starting my seeds in my house next to my wood stove, because those have got to go out right about Mother's Day, after Mother's Day in May. So I have my short season in North Idaho, which is like 4 to 5 months of growing. Because if I don't start things in the house, there's no way to pop them in the ground like I did in California, and you get a plant.
Right.
So
right.
you're always having to keep up a little bit, and that can be a little bit overwhelming for many of us, I think. And for me, in the first few years of living here, I've always feeling like, well, I got to like keep up, and I can't just enjoy that season and go to the store and flip up my light switch and relax. I've got to always keep up, because you can't gather stuff in the winter around here. There's just no way. You'll freeze.
Yeah.
And so with foraging, you have to be mindful of going, okay, when is that season? When is that opportunity to come and to harvest or pick what you need? Whether it's to store or whether it's to enjoy to eat or put in a pesto. So it makes you stay young, maybe, very active.
Keeps you in shape.
What?
It keeps you in shape. It keeps you.
A lot of these women. I think I did a post on Facebook in my group about how some of these women. There's a gentleman up the mountain. He's an old coot, we call him. His name is Russell. He lives by himself. He's like in his mid 70s, and a cat maybe mid 70s, and the guy like is building his own huge house by himself, like on his own.
Wow.
And he recently fell like 13 feet, landed straight up on his feet, like poof. And he was limping coming up the mountain. And I'm like, Russell, what happened? He's like, oh, I broke my foot about a month ago and I just had surgery. I'm like, did you like call anybody? And no, I just kind of hobbled along and went to the hospital that night. I'm like, and I hear these stories of these men and these women in their 70s or 80s that are splitting wood up here. They're like these off the grid, intense people that just they don't just survive, they thrive, but they truly enjoy living that lifestyle. And they are stronger than some of the 20-year-olds, with all due respect to Riley, that can't split wood coming from the city, because they've been doing it for years, and they're out there in the cold, like, tank top on, it's like 20 degrees, whatever, and chopping wood. And I'm like,
yeah, I definitely can't. I couldn't do that. I mean, I was going to say we have 4 seasons here, and for me, I'm just like praying that we have a mild winter again, because I
hear you.
And I just said to my kids the other day, why don't you move south? When are you going to move south so I can go there? But well, you know what I want to do? If you all don't mind, I'm going to stop the recording for now, and then I'll restart it again. Everybody, we're going to do a part 2, and I'm going to talk to Faye and let I mean, you guys certainly welcome to stay. I want to give her the chance then to talk more about what she's got on her end and in Pennsylvania. But if you, Riley and Adriana, do you have any closing words or anything that you'd like to close with?
I'm just really thankful to be on this show today, and I hope that it's a beautiful experience digging in the dirt and getting to know some of the plants on your own for whoever's watching this. And don't be intimidated. It's a beautiful experience, and I think it just deepens our walk with the Father too, to get to like have that tangible thing of like, wow, you put this here and it's for my good, so
yeah, I mean, that's my prayer, is that I will be somewhere where I need to be when I need to be with the people that I need to be with who have the knowledge. I believe that's another thing. We're coming to these times where we cannot survive on our own. We definitely have to live in community. And so, again, each one has its, each one of us has our own knowledge that we've been given, and understanding of certain topics and subjects and things. And so I'm looking forward to being in a community where people know how to do that better than me. So, Adriana?
I was going to say again, yeah, don't be intimidated. Don't let the times that we're currently living in create a hasteful, like survival intense mode that you don't enjoy being in the dirt. Let that just come and cultivate your life and be a part of how the Father created us to really live our lives. And that doesn't mean you have to leave corporate America and, be a farmer, so to speak, but try to learn how this part of how Abba created us to live, to be a part of your life as you are living in corporate America. And if you choose to step out of it and you want to go, full into it full time, then I encourage you to at least garden, do something that will create life that you can see and enjoy the food. Because once you taste the food that comes from the ground up, you won't enjoy the grocery store stuff, and you will choose to live a frugal life of not having all the things that the store offers and just get the basic needs. Or then again, if you're growing mullein, you can always use that for toilet paper.
Yeah. Well, that is a great statement to end on. Thank you, ladies. Like I said, you can stick around for part 2 if you'd like. If not, that's fine. I know that Riley, you have a trip to home. But anyway, so we're going to make this part 1, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. I will link below the links to these ladies' information, Zeffie's homestead, so that you can get more information, and definitely have y'all come back again sometime and talk more about homesteading and whatever else we're led to talk about. So stay tuned, Faye. We're going to talk to you a little bit more part 2. So I'll be right back.